We saw another Christmas film, one I'd never seen, but I'd heard of for a long time, called Scrooged, which is, of course, the classic take on Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol, but this time it's with Bill Murray as the Scrooge character.
But not Scrooge.
Yeah, it's Frank Cross, who plays a TV executive, or rather, Bill Murray plays Frank Cross, who is a TV executive. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's a jerk, hates Christmas, and the rest is basically the Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Well, I'd never seen this either. I'd heard surprisingly good things. I know it has a bit of a cult following, especially in the area, because I think it was filmed here. Or at least part of it was. I was seeing some Chicago stuff.
I thought it was in New York.
I saw like CTA stuff going on.
See,
so I was like,
I don't know. Yeah, it just looked generic, large metropolitan city.
But I'm a big Bill Murray fan, big Richard Donner fan. Didn't know this was him. A lot of people in this.
When I saw this was directed by Rich Donner, mm-hmm. my jaw nearly dropped to the floor. I said, "Really?
Yeah,
he directed this."
Yeah, he's got some skeletons in his closet. Right. No pun intended.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I was not expecting this to be this bad. Like from the get-go, it has your classic. Okay, so full spoilers. Okay, so
if you've never seen A Christmas Carol or Scrooged, you're fucked.
Basically,
leave.
Yeah. Anyway, classic fake out hook. And I kind of like the production values a little bit. It reminds me of, like the beginning of Elf, sort of. Mm-hmm. Or the Santa Claus, like your classic Santa workshop, and then there's machine guns. I'm like, all right, I guess this is, like, kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm not full-blown laughing yet.
I was laughing at that, at least. That made me
I thought it was silly, and I was enjoying what I was seeing, but I wanted to see it, mm-hmm. up the ante. Then Lee Majors is there, and then it turns out... Cut away, it's a TV promo. It's like, Santa's workshop is attacked by psychos at 7 in, like...
What's it called, like Dead Reindeer or something?
Yeah, like Dead, or Reindeer Dead, or like some shit like that.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's part of a promo. And then we meet Frank Cross, our main character, played by Bill Murray. Mm-hmm. And right from the get-go, Bill Murray is terrible at playing the villain.
Yeah, he's a little too likable.
He's too likable and he's too naturally nice. Mm-hmm. And that came across straight away. I'm like, I already hate this movie because he can't deliver the mean lines. He's terrible at it.
Mm-hmm. I think that there is I have a lot of problems with this movie. My biggest problem with it is that it's mostly, I don't know what the hell this movie's trying to do. Like, I feel like this movie has one foot in each pond. Pond A being, it's a classic retelling of A Christmas Carol. And Pond B being, it's a deconstructed retelling of A Christmas Carol. Because this movie simultaneously it'll do things where it'll acknowledge the fact that A Christmas Carol exists in this universe. Right. And then but then it'll completely abide by the rules of itself. Even though characters that live in this world are fully aware of the tropes and turns that the story is going to take, namely Bill Murray.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that because you say you know how it's going to play out, and that's my problem is absolutely nothing is really unexpected, and they set it up where at first you thought, oh, so this might be a little different, where it's instead the ghosts are going to come at noon, not mm-hmm. midnight.
Yeah, and it takes place over 3 days, not one night,
Whatever, it's like, no, I thought it was all Christmas Eve.
No, it's 3 days. Because, there's like a bunch of like fucking... there's like time in between each ghost visit where he's like losing his mind and shit. So that was the difference where I'm like, all right, this is not A Christmas Carol. This is a somewhat different retelling.
I kind of thought like, all right, so they're going to do this a little differently. And he's not a banker. He's a TV exec. Mm-hmm. But then right away, I was just not enjoying it. And I'm like, it was to the point where he gets visited by his Marley. What the fuck's the dude's name originally? Jacob Marley. And I realized I haven't laughed once, like a serious good laugh. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so this is how it's going to go. And then we get to the Christmas past part, and like you say, it happens just like clockwork. Oh, I'm not going to cry. And then what happens? He cries. And then there's the annoying, like Niagara Falls. I'm like, that's not funny. This is stupid. Mm-hmm. Also, Am I wrong in saying that the cab driver is also the ain't much better in here kid cab driver?
I guess I guess the dude who plays the.
Is that him or am I wrong? Because
No,
I thought it looked like him.
It's David Johansen, American singer and songwriter and actor of the New York band, or of the proto-punk band, the New York Dolls.
No shit, that guy was in the New York Dolls.
Yeah.
Really?
Lead singer.
Jeez. Well, I guess I don't know my New York Dolls history that well. I mean, I know of them. I've heard some of their songs. I'm not super familiar with them.
Well, by the way, though, you were right. This takes place the day of the show. But that just goes to show, I guess I missed the fucking pacing. And that's
that's the other thing. Is this movie's awful on every level. Mm-hmm. The editing is atrocious because they just kind of skip through one scene through the other, and there's like the writing is bad. Like when he's talking to his brother, I didn't really gather 100% that was his brother.
Yeah, I was just focused on Miles Davis being on the street.
Later on, well, yeah, I guess he was there. And then later on, he mentioned something about his brother. I'm like, who the fuck's his brother? I'm like, oh, that guy. I had to rewind several times.
There was another thing where it was
I just missed things.
They did that. That happened for me, but with the one homeless guy that dies.
Yeah.
I'm like,
who the hell is he?
He was like the guy that mistook Bill Murray for Richard Burton.
Oh, and I'm like, yeah.
I'm like, do you know this guy other than that? Because like, if I knew that guy, I'd be like, oh man,
that's what I feel like.
Like that really sucks, but I don't know who this.
There's a combination of script and editing problems, and they sort of, I guess, in the wrong way, went hand in hand because it's like they cut away from things too quickly for you to really like latch onto it or remember it, or they spend too long on things.
So I guess this movie had a pretty rocky production because both Murray and Donner had different visions for what the film could be, as according to Wikipedia. Murray himself described his time on the film as one of, quote, misery, while Donner called Murray, quote, superbly creative but occasionally difficult. So I think that absolutely shows, and it shows kind of the bifurcated, like, this movie trying to be a couple different things at once and not really doing either of them well at all.
Yeah.
And, like, dear God, there are some scenes in this where I'm like, it just feels like Bill Murray's like spinning his wheels and just nothing's coming out. Like the ending where he's just like talking at the audience.
Yeah, I hated that.
I just like, you can see he's like, just someone fucking call cut, please. Fucking dying.
I feel like he's just like, oh, I'm just trying so hard to like embody what people liked about characters in other movies because this character I'm playing sucks.
Yeah.
That was the other thing is like, not only did it feel like Scrooge changed, it felt like it wasn't even the same person.
Yeah. And
it felt like it was like he was like guest hosting Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. Well, especially like all the fact that this takes place on sets. Yeah. Also, that was the other thing. It's like they didn't do anything interesting with like what would have been interesting sets. Mm-hmm. Like the part when it goes to Christmas Past and he goes and he's on the dog show. There's nothing like interesting happening on the dog show.
Right. It's
like
just random.
It's just like, oh, he's on a kid's show and that's it. Or like when he's watching TV, it's like, you gotta get a job and work, kid. It's like you should have made the dad like more over the top. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
It was just so lacking. I think the worst scene in this entire movie in terms of like, hey guys, this is a comedy. Remember, this is supposed to be funny. Mm-hmm. Is the part where he goes to what is it? I can't remember what the fuck it was. Oh, it was the part where he goes to visit or he doesn't visit, but they watch the Christmas Present, and it's his brother's party.
Yeah.
And they're not really like talking much shit about him. I'm like, I thought everyone's supposed to hate him and think he's a dick. Mm-hmm. Like it was really well done in my opinion, the very best Christmas Carol.
Muppets?
Yeah.
Of course.
Because they play the game like 20 questions. Like, is this a creature of habit? It's like, oh, most certainly. Mm-hmm. Is it a cockroach? And that's like, no, it's like, I know, it's Ebenezer Scrooge. And they're like, ah, ha, ha. They all have a laugh like, what a dick he is.
Right.
This, it's just like, oh, I would know the answer to that trivia question. It's like, are you kidding me? What the hell is this?
Yeah. This movie also... It accentuates a huge problem that I never really realized I had with the original Christmas Carol story, and I told you about this, which is the ending, which involves Christmas Future, where it's like So you have Ebenezer Scrooge, and he's dealing with Ghost of Christmas, or he gets Jacob Marley first, who's like, you suck ass, and you're going to be dealing with 3 ghosts tonight. Have fun, bye. Christmas present shows up. Hey, Scrooge, here's why you're an asshole right now. Present shows up. Hey, here's the effects that your assholiness is causing on other people's lives. And at that point in the classic story, it's when Scrooge realizes, like, all right, yeah, I suck. And he even does it in this movie, like, he says it to Present, like, or somebody. He says, "Take me home. I'm a changed man. I suck. Whatever." But they're like, "Oh, you've got the Ghost of Christmas Future to visit you yet." And I'm like, "But he doesn't need the Ghost of Christmas Future.
They're just trying to avoid recidivism."
That's what I mean. It's like
I'm kidding.
It's going to scare the shit out of him, and it's going to undo all of the goodness in his heart, and it's going to replace it with fear of death. And it's like, I don't want that. That's like you're coercing him into being a good person and making him feel good.
I'm sorry, Charles Dickens didn't have like a writing team in L.A.
They can't all be Oliver
That
Twist.
they could Skype in.
They can't all be Oliver Twist. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. I think that's like a weird complaint you have about Christmas Carol in general. Mm-hmm. And therefore, since that's kind of part of the deal, I don't know if that's really a fair criticism to bring it up here as if that's this movie's fault.
Well, this movie I can have a Muppet Christmas Carol get away with that because it's like, all right, there are other things on top of that, but I don't know what it was like about. I feel like the depiction of dying in this was so fucking traumatic, like him literally burning to death. It's like, who the fuck isn't going to be like, yeah, sure, yeah, fuck it, coins, everybody coins. It's like, that's like, yeah, sure, he's changed, but like, you fucked him up, man. Like, he's not a good person. He's a fucking trauma patient now.
Right. Also, in that scene, Claire, what's her deal? She's just like, yeah, I decided to stop helping and act like Frank even though he's dead. That doesn't make any fucking sense. In addition to that, why does she like him? If he's such a jackass?
I don't know. There's some scenes
I'm trying to save the world. I'm trying to burn it down. Opposite the tract, right?
There's like some scenes in this where he's like literally ordering people around and they're saying, you should fire them. And she's like, oh, lumpy. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't get this, like, eat shit. Oh, you. Mm-hmm. I just get tired of that. Let's see what else they did wrong. Let me look at my list.
Let's see.
Okay.
What didn't you like about the movie?
Okay, it's an easier question. What did I like? Not much. Well, okay. Okay, you know what? I'll cut right to the chase. Mm-hmm. I only legitimately laughed once. And that was Bobcat Goldthwait taking over the office.
Yeah.
Well, and that part's kind of weird. It's like, I'm going to shoot you because I'm Bobcat Goldthwait. And then Bill Murray's like, I love you. And he's like, okay.
People are like fearing for their lives and crying and shit.
Yeah, and then there's like, now here's what I want to do. Since I'm a good guy now, I want you to hold the control room at gunpoint. And I guess it like sort of worked on a comedic level to me because it was funny, but not really working plot-wise. But I was like, you know what? At this point, I'll take a laugh where I can get it.
Right.
And there's the part where John Glover, who's like sort of a rival of Frank's, who again they don't put nearly enough effort into like, ooh, this is
establishing him at all,
establishing him, or like, ooh, I really don't like him. It's just like anything.
Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah, but the point is, what was I going to say? So when Bobcat Goldthwait's like holding him at gunpoint, like tying him up, it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be, yeah, take that, other exec. And you're like, you kind of gathered that he's like sort of douchey, but like at the beginning, he seems like a nicer guy than Frank Cross's character.
Right. It's not, he seems more put together.
Yeah.
And he's putting together
But that was the only part I laughed at, where he's like calling the other boss. He's like, yeah, he said like, you're a butthead. Like, that was the only thing I laughed at.
I chuckled kind of intermittently throughout. Like, there's some jokes I was like, that's funny. Not like ha-ha funny, but like...
I got like a heh. Like, I'm saying like the pity, like, I'm trying to enjoy this, goddammit, like that kind of forced laughter.
It was a bit of that. But it wasn't in like...
Yeah.
It wasn't like Action Point or something where I'm like, dear God.
No, that's
so sad.
That's how I felt. I absolutely hated this movie. There was the cats and dogs as viewers thing, It's like, it's not that the joke was really that bad. It's just like the delivery sucked. Mm-hmm. Like, Robert Mitchum, what are you doing in this?
Yeah, what the hell? Isn't this like one of his last movies too?
That's you know what? It happens. You know, Raul Julia, he just chose better. He was in Street Fighter.
Dear God.
Okay, but like that whole thing, it's like, I sort of was like, I was trying to vibe with the movie. I'm like, oh, I get it. Clueless executives.
Right, right.
They didn't really go much further with that.
Mm-hmm. They did not at all, actually. I mean, they try, but they fail.
And there was something I realized, though. Speaking of like trying and failing, much to your criticisms of Christmas Carol, I'll level with you on this. When you watch a bad version of something, and then on top of that, you know how it's gonna go.
You start to pick its flaws out.
Oh, you start to hate it more because I'm like the Grace character. Who, again, like, her scenes I felt like a couple of them were cut short and were, like, sort of awkwardly edited.
Right, right.
And they're giving, like, raspberries to, like, a 15-year-old. I'm like, I don't get what's going on. Like, that shit seems like...
I'm not following you.
Yeah, that's like a little kid thing.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Or they're just, like, wrestling or whatever. It's just, like, it just felt like, let's have a silly family moment.
Yeah, that was no...
But when her kid's, like, not talking, I'm like, let me take a fucking guess.
What's he gonna say?
It's not like they foreshadowed it and foreshadowed nothing else properly. God blesses everyone. Oh, my goodness, he talked. And I'm like, who would have thought?
Oh, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, on top of the fact that I hated this, like, I would say we're sort of reversal on the two movies that we watched.
See,
so I was saying, though, as on top of the fact that I hate this, I hate it even more because I know how it's going to go.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't like. I did not like the fact that I could see where this was going. I thought this was pitched as a deconstruction of Christmas Carol. It isn't. It's kind of half that. It's kind of half exactly where you think it's going to go, and that's my biggest problem with it.
Let's see. What else did I hate about this? Just going down the items here. I wish Bobcat Goldthwait was the main character. I think he would have been better. Like,
what's the character's name?
Elliot
Loudermilk.
Loudermilk,
but
or
like,
something.
He's supposed to be? Who's the character that, like, Tiny Tim's dad? Cratchit.
Bob Cratchit. Yeah. Oh yeah, because he like fires him or whatever.
Well, it's kind of two. It's like it's supposed to be him and the Alfre Woodard character. Because she's essentially the mother of the Tiny Tim character.
Yeah. Also, the sets, like, because they were like TV sets, it just felt like a cop out. Like, all right, guys, we got some scripts. Yeah, I got this one. Who's got a script where we can just use leftover shit? like that's how I felt about like the kids' dog show, especially. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, we need something, some
kind of kid show.
Yeah, it's time to fill the time. Well, we just finished filming in a Petco commercial or whatever the fuck was the pet store in the 80s. Yeah, do that. Yeah, just tell us, fellas, we need to borrow the dog suit for a couple minutes. Yeah, see? Mm-hmm. I guess I had one little positive thing. I guess this is where Richard Donner came in. The effects were pretty decent.
I like the effects. That was probably one of the only, like, objectively, like, yeah, these are good.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Ghost Christmas Present. Horribly annoying.
Oh, Carol Kane?
Yeah, I was not a fan.
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, that's kind of her shtick. Like, remember she was the Penguin's mom in Batman Returns?
No, that's what I'm saying is I normally like her. Mm-hmm. Like, cause she's on a bunch of sitcoms too, right?
Yeah, she was on.
She was on 2.5 Men, wasn't she?
2.5 Men. I think she's on. What's the?
Yeah,
Kimmy
she plays one of like Charlie's girlfriend's like parents, right?
I think so.
And she's just like kind of creepy and like that shit was funny.
Yeah. She's also Lotka's wife on Taxi.
Yeah, and I think in this case it was not her fault.
I think it might just be bad directorial work. Like, this feels like Richard Donner like came in with a vision. That vision was clashed with by Bill Murray, who is a huge fucking personality, and like you probably ended up splitting the crew, making some enemies, and I feel like it shows in this movie as a result.
That's actually something interesting because, like, now that you mention it, maybe it was that Richard Donner wanted to make a more regular Christmas Carol movie. and that Bill Murray was like, what the fuck? Why don't we just make this like a full-blown comedy?
I feel like I would have liked the Murray version if that were the case.
Is it just me, or did this feel like it was trying to emulate Ghostbusters a bit?
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because I guess that was a huge marketing ploy for this movie because it came out only a little bit before. So they were saying like, this is another...
Before?
It was like 84, right?
Oh, I thought you meant this came out... This definitely came out after Ghostbusters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was this 88?
88, I
think. The year of Child's Play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, 88. And they use that heavily in the marketing. Like, the second movie that, Bill Murray's going to have to deal with ghosts. This time it's Christmas and carols and Charles Dickens and shit.
Right. So I kind of felt that way when I was watching this. And it reminded me of, like, how Darkman... I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys really wanted to emulate Batman, didn't you? Mm-hmm. It really felt like a lesser version of a better movie.
Yeah. It's not, I was really let down by it. But I will say, like, I don't think it's particularly awful. Like,
I think it is 100% terrible.
In contrast, again, like, the flip side, like, I found it watchable. Like, I wasn't bored. It at least, like, looked okay. There was, like, some crazy shit to look at. It wasn't like, oh, man,
I was gonna
guess
say
what's going to happen next.
I was going to say, I thought there was, like, about 5 minutes of this that was watchable.
That I definitely see
it's
where
like
that is, too.
The Ghost of Christmas is yet to come. That was the only, like, remotely kind of cool part that I was enjoying with the weird hallway, some other stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, I really hated this. And I remember I was at, like, the hour mark. I'm like, Jesus, there's 40 minutes of this left.
Yeah.
And then the final nail in the coffin was Frank's winning back Claire thing.
Oh, yeah. It's like, didn't you just make out with some other chick on live television,
right.
too?
Well, I mean, that's a minor point.
Right.
But it's like, what the hell is this? Like, this is... Well, talk about cliches. Like, this was a particular offender of that. Like, oh my God, what are we doing watching this? Blah, 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 I would have fired you, but now I'm all better, Claire. And it's like he's just rambling like a lunatic, and like she would just be like, oh my fucking God, I know this guy, I'm so embarrassed. She's like, oh, Lumpy, and I'm like, no, shut up, it's not funny, it sucks. Stop calling him Lumpy.
By the way, this movie does take place in New York City, but I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't take place in Chicago, so
yeah,
even less. You lost yourself a half a point, Scrooged.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to scores. You know what? I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 5.
Yeah,
I absolutely thought it was awful.
I'd probably give it a 5. It's not very good at all, but I was perfectly okay with
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Yeah. It's not good, but
I was like, I'm telling you, I was shocked at how bad this was.
Yeah, maybe I didn't have high expectations for it. That might have been why.
Well, that's the thing, is I didn't really have high expectations. I had pretty good ones. I thought it'd be like near Ghostbusters 2, cuz like I love Ghostbusters 1, but even then it doesn't even crack my top 100 movies. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people love Ghostbusters. I'm like, it's all right. And 2, I think Ghostbusters is more than all right. It's just not like my favorite. And 2 is all right.
Yeah.
And I thought this was at least going to be that level.
Mm-hmm. It's no bueno.
No, right away I realized I didn't like it.
Alrighty.
So that'll just about do it for our review of Scrooged.